Food for the Poor has the logistical partnerships. I mean, they are still uncovering survivors. There are still people whose lives are in danger because they are cut off from access to essentials like food and water. We're accustomed to speaking about that challenge when we're talking about Guatemala or Haiti, Honduras, not when we're talking about Asheville, Western North Carolina, areas of Florida, areas of Georgia and Tennessee. To recognize these victims are cut off by isolation or by the lack of roads is amazing here in the U.S. And yet Food for the Poor is partnering with ministries on the ground to take back roads, to find a way to get these disaster kits into the hands of these victims and provide them some much needed relief.
Hey, look out. It's Faith Talk Today. I'm Rick Probst. A fantastic Atlanta fall-like weekend. It's about time, right? Right? Yes. So glad that you're here. Hey, it wasn't long ago. It was in September, right? It was around the 24th, September 24th, I think Friday the 27th. We were prepping for our potential encounter with Helene. Fortunately for us, we missed a bullet and she kind of went east. And that's the good news for us. But the bad news is that it went up into North Georgia and South Carolina and Asheville got rocked, Tennessee, all that area. And it's just crazy. And the devastation, we're still getting figures. Some folks still, they don't have electric and, supplies, food, etc. It's hard to get. We're going to talk about that in a second with Anitra from Food for the Poor, because it is a day of hope. Now they are right there and helping all those folks. And we want to talk about that. And then if that were not enough, we're going to talk about the effects of Milton and hitting Florida and moving there. So these guys at Food for the Poor, I don't know when they sleep. They probably don't. Like a horse, they just they sleep standing up and just keep going. So we're going to talk to them in a second. Hey, thank you so much for downloading our podcast, Faith Talk Today. The numbers are in and have been, and it's crazy town. And we appreciate all that you're doing to not only support the show, but the guests. And that's what it's all about on this show, the guests. And so listen and share as you are. Faith Talk Today, at faithtalktoday.com or wherever you get your podcast. All right. Day of Hope with Food for the Poor. Anitra, welcome. Good to see you.
Good to see you. We're so grateful for your partnership. And you mentioned Food for the Poor is predominantly an international organization, a charity working throughout the Caribbean and Latin America. But as our CEO said, we're committed to stepping in when disaster strikes our neighbors. And we are reaching out to our neighbors throughout Florida, North Carolina, Georgia, Tennessee, who are facing the unimaginable challenge of rebuilding their lives after the double whammy of Helene and then Milton. So we are so excited to partner with you to get these victims, these hurricane victims, the help that they need. And that's everything from diapers to food and water and generators.
And Anitra, I mean, you talk about disaster with a capital D. It is the double whammy there. And we're still getting stories online about folks that they found, whether they're alive or not.
It's incredible. I mean, with a disaster, there are times of great grief as well as times of great exhilaration. We're seeing so many stories of neighbors reaching out, but so often their assistance is limited. Food for the Poor has the logistical partnerships. I mean, they are still uncovering survivors. There are still people whose lives are in danger because they're cut off from access to essentials like food and water. We're accustomed to speaking about that challenge when we're talking about Guatemala or Haiti, Honduras, not when we're talking about Asheville, Western North Carolina, areas of Florida, areas of Georgia and Tennessee. To recognize these victims are cut off by isolation or by the lack of roads is amazing here in the U.S. And yet Food for the Poor is partnering with ministries on the ground to take back roads, to find a way to get these disaster kits into the hands of these victims and provide them some much needed relief.
Anitra with us, Food for the Poor, Day of Hope. We're talking about the effects, the disasters, right? Disaster times 2 with Helene, and also what the effects in Milton, Florida, and beyond. Anitra, talk to us about, we know what some of what the kits, what they have. You talked about diapers, et cetera, and food, but talk about the price. What is it? How can we help here?
Well, there's a number of different kits, and those are going out in large containers. If you've ever stopped at a railroad crossing and kind of been inconvenienced by those containers, can I give you a different perspective? Because those containers are the ones that are going to be sent out to full of aid, full of the help that they need. So yeah, I've started praying for those containers, but it's everything from $100 purchases an emergency bucket of cleaning supplies. And, these are commonly acquired items for you and I, but after a hurricane like this, stores have no supplies. And the long journey of mucking out, of even keeping your family safe, these emergency buckets of supplies are invaluable. A $500 gift provides 5 children with a disaster relief kit. Now that's tarps and blankets, hygiene kits, women care kits, oral hydration, because it is so hot in so many of these areas that there's a physical danger just to doing this manual labor. There's even kids' activities to give the children something to smile about and to occupy them when they've literally lost everything. A one-time $5,000 gift, that provides 30 pallets, a trucking container worth of these emergency relief supplies. And what I love, Rick, is that the response is a matter of days. We are already prepared. We have pre-positioned some of these supplies in the areas that were most in danger long before hurricane season started. So the benefits of your previous gifts are already being disseminated and distributed. But as you know, there is such an overwhelming need. So we ask, will you be a part of providing relief to these victims of both Helene and Milton? Your best gift is going to give them relief from their suffering.
It is a day of hope with Food for the Poor. Anitra with us from Food for the Poor, and she's not just spouting off, detail, just facts and figures, which they are. She's been a Florida resident for many, many years and experienced, I think she said, 30 hurricanes. So she knows the drill, some worse than other, but they're all bad. I know this week I went into Kroger and I noticed a lot of bread gone. I couldn't figure out why. And it was because of the potential strike in the ports. And I thought, how am I going to get my bread? Well, that's nothing compared to not having electricity and water and diapers and the things that are needed. So we appreciate Food for the Poor and their folks on the ground there because of Milton and because of Helene. And we've all watched it. We've all read it. We've all heard about it. This is how we can help. And I'll tell you, you can call 844-861-4673, or you can go to FaithTalkAtlanta.com and click the red emergency relief banner. I love this. This is the easy for me. Text SURGE, SURGE, to 51555. Probably too early to tell, Anitra, or correct me if I'm wrong, the response to those that are being helped even as we speak.
No, because it's immediate. Rick, you understand that time is of the essence in terms of getting these supplies. The hygiene kits are essential because they survive the storms only to be endangered. We've got babies who are in need of formula, diapers. I mean, these are the essentials. And I love, as a longtime Florida resident, I have heard storm surge. What I love is that the Faith Talk family is sending a surge of love. So this is going to, as a storm surge, the waters cover an area, your love is going to cover these victims. And so, yes, I've seen a number of hurricanes, but this back-to-back element added a degree of suffering that is catastrophic. I mean, The media is showing you the images. You know the families on the other side of this devastation and even the loss of power. My sister had triplets, premature. And I remember a hurricane was terrifying for us that it would not have been for us as adults because of the ramifications to her children.
Yeah.
So your gift right now immediately releases. We see that gift come in and immediately speak to our partners. And we're front loading all of these supplies to keep an endless, just a convoy of emergency relief supplies targeted to those areas that need it most.
Anitra from Food for the Poor with us. This is Day of Hope. We're talking about the disasters, the one that was caused by Milton and the one that was caused by Helene. Of course, here in Metro Atlanta and in Georgia, depending on where you are geographically in the state, some we got just a little bit of wind. We had a small tree down, nothing to sweat over. But there are folks that I have friends in North Georgia, and they just bought a generator, and they've been on a generator for weeks and weeks. So, Anitra, talk about that. Yeah, we want to meet these needs, but this is not even just a now thing, right? It's now and beyond. This doesn't just get fixed in a few days or weeks. Sometimes it takes months.
And imagine as somebody who has had their vehicle destroyed by the rising water, you have no way to leave. You don't have any contact. The stores that are close to you in walking distance are free. They don't have anything left. Imagine when a 18-wheeler pulls in, the doors fly open, and Food for the Poor volunteer is able to say, oh no, your brothers and sisters have sent you relief. And you're exactly right. This is going to be a long-term rebuilding. Food for the Poor is committed to supporting these partners. But I think as much as the tangible physical help, it's the reminder you're not alone. And there is a reason to hope that when you're embattered like this and having been the victim of such storms, just to be reminded you're not facing this alone is invaluable. And that's what your gift is doing right now.
Whatever the size gift that you can give, please give something. Anitra from Food for the Poor here. Here's how you give: 844-861-4673. You can go to FaithTalkAtlanta.com and check out the Red Emergency Relief banner. Just click that, and it'll give you basically the menu of what you can give. And also text SURGE, SURGE, 51555. I love what you said, Anitra, about the surge of love. Yes, and Atlanta, and you've been with us so many times, you know how Atlanta responds so readily and so generously when needs rise up, and they rise up. The listeners rise up so much. All of them here that listen to our stations here. Anitra, thank you so much. We want to catch you on the other end of this, get an update in a few weeks to see what's going on, and would love some testimonies and stories of the families that have been helped and no doubt touched deeply in their lives. Hey, again, thank you so much. 844-861-4673, FaithTalkAtlanta.com. Click the Red Emergency Relief banner or text SURGE, SURGE, 51555. Thank you so much for listening to the show. Check out the podcast as you always do and share it, FaithTalkAtlanta.com or wherever you get your podcast. Until next weekend, we're going to have a great show next week too. But have a great week. I'm Rick Probst. See ya.